If you just give me 30 minutes today, I'm going to give you more than $10 million worth of crypto investing advice and information that I've used to take myself from on the verge of bankruptcy to a multimillionaire at the age of 26. And today I'm going to share with you all those insights and strategies that you need to take away, that it's also now helped me build one of the world's leading crypto research companies, Collective Shift, where we do multi-seven figures every single year to help clients build their portfolio through this same investing information that you're going to learn today. Let's get into it. The first bit of advice I can give you to get you started straight away is the understanding and importance of Bitcoin. If your crypto strategy isn't built around Bitcoin, you are playing the wrong game. So many people go about this the wrong way and think Bitcoin's boring and think because it's already grown so fast that it is not the asset to be in. If you have followed the Bitcoin cycles and have just held Bitcoin for the last 5, 10 years, even 2 years, you are outperforming pretty much any other asset on the planet. If you have just held Bitcoin, even for the 4-year cycles that Bitcoin plays in, you would have outperformed pretty much any trader. The last bull market, Bitcoin went from about $3,000 to $60,000 in a space of 4 years. That's up thousands of percent just by literally holding. You are beating most traders and funds in the world. Everyone is obsessed about getting in the next pump, getting in the next altcoin, trying to find that thing that's going to 10x. But the reality is, if you were just to buy and hold this one asset, you would be financially free. And this is what beginners get wrong so many times, is they try and build a house without having a foundation. I speak to so many people that have 70% altcoins, 80% altcoins. It's like having a house and not having the concrete slabs built on top of it. You are building essentially a very flimsy portfolio, and you're going to be held with the market volatility, and you're going to end up buying assets and altcoins that are not going to outperform. So many altcoins right now are not even outperforming Bitcoin. If you're holding altcoins that are underperforming Bitcoin, you need to be asking yourself, why on earth are you holding it? Altcoins are essentially speculative startups, and yes, some of them are going to really outperform, but most of them will not win. They will not actually succeed on what they're trying to build out to do. Now, I'm not saying altcoins are a bad thing, but I'm saying if you don't build your foundation, your portfolio in the right way, your portfolio will be blown over, like building a house without proper plans. When people get into crypto, again, they look at the thing that they think is going to make them more money. They think Bitcoin's already expensive, so let's not get in there. Now, reality check. You're not going to make the same amount of returns if you got into crypto back in 2017. Back in 2017 and 2021, there was altcoins. You could literally buy anything, hold on, hope, and it would go up. That is not reality anymore. The amount of supply, the amount of new tokens, the amount of meme coins, the amount of speculative investment that's in this space right now compared to previous cycles is literally thousands and thousands times greater than ever before. No longer can you just buy and hold and hope on random coins. You have to build a solid foundation. Now, this is what happens when people get into crypto. They also get into the exchanges, all right? And what do the exchanges do? They want you to buy these altcoins because that's how they make money. People get excited when altcoins go up because they get euphoria and greed. The ultimate thing that happens, and we see this one with on-chain analysis, is that retail investors buy at the exact wrong time every single cycle. When is that time? When it's pumping. When the markets are green and when altcoins are going up 10%, 20%, 30%. This is when retail investors get in because they're getting excited. That's when your mates at work start talking about it. That's when your colleagues start talking about crypto. You start remembering crypto because it's going up, and then you buy the assets when they're going up. Newsflash, you don't make money when assets are going up. You make money when the assets are down and you wait for them to go up. If you're always chasing pumps, you're always chasing narratives, and you're always buying when it's green, that is when you ultimately lose. And we see this time and time again. This is why cycles go into the greed territory and into the negative, is because the euphoria on the way up, it continues to get people to buy, and we go way above market value. And then when the market dumps, because whales sell into that retail buying, it goes way further down on the downward side into depression because people get fearful and they sell, and that sells the market even further down to where the market value should be. There's a difference between price and value. Price of an asset is something that someone's willing to pay for something, and the value is what the market or what the asset is actually contributing to society. And when you can buy an asset above or below, that is where you're getting into overvalued or undervalued territories. So when a market is valued, or you value an asset at a certain price, you want to buy it below the market value. All right. And that is how you win, not when the market's pumping and when it's in the green. Now, this is where crypto gets its bad name because so many people lose money by chasing altcoins. And I'm going to share with you the altcoin strategy in this video, but I want to show you how to get started and build your proper foundation. And if you're already in crypto, how to actually optimize and bring your portfolio back to make sure you're outperforming this cycle. So the first thing is literally just starting with Bitcoin and building those foundations. If you're investing a large amount of money into crypto, I would highly recommend using OTC, which is over the counter trading. That is essentially where you get tapped into the pools of liquidity the exchanges don't necessarily offer on an exchange, where someone will make that transaction for you. you. Most good exchanges will have this, and if you're spending more than $25,000 at a time on a transaction and you're using the main exchange, you're going to be spending upwards of 1% per transaction on fees, which is a lot. Now, I believe Bitcoin is the best asset in the world. I believe it's going towards $1 million one day, but people get caught up in, oh, I'm too late. Oh, I don't know when the right time to buy is. Will it go down? Isn't it better to wait until it goes down? I hear this time and time again. I've heard it for the last 9 years. Bitcoin is an asset that, again, is growing at such a rapid pace based on the valuable identities of characteristics of actual money, the decentralization, limited supply, the ability for you to own it and no one else control it, and also the ability for you to actually use it in any way, shape, or form that you want without government or oversight or control. Now, when people ask me, oh, but Ben, aren't I too late? Shouldn't I wait until it goes back down? I ask them, how many people do you know in your friendship circle that are deep in crypto? Have a think about it right now. I would nearly bet that it's a very, very small percent. That is because it's such a nuanced technology, and yes, a lot more people have heard of it, but yet most people still don't understand it. And this is where, as you start to learn about inflation, you start to learn how fiat currencies works, you start to realize that the US are printing more than $2 trillion of debt every single year. The M2 money supply is growing, that needs to find a home. You look at the US debt calculator, they're in $30 trillion plus of debt, and it's compounding over and over and over again. That money needs to find a home. And for me, the best solution is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is because it is an asset that is a limited supply, and people can actually put in there to hedge against the rest of the craziness of the debasement of currency across the world. Now, Bitcoin isn't just competing with altcoins. Bitcoin is competing with physical gold. Bitcoin is competing with the S&P 500. Bitcoin is its own asset class. I see Bitcoin and altcoins as two completely separate asset classes, and that's how I teach my clients, and it's how I'd rarely recommend you to start thinking about it. Physical gold is over a $20 trillion asset class. Right now, Bitcoin's only about $2 trillion. As Bitcoin grows, I believe it will start to compete with physical gold. That is a 10x on the price now. That would put the price range somewhere in the realm of 1.1 million US dollars per Bitcoin. That's where I think we're going over the next 10 years. And that is what you need to be thinking about. Bitcoin is not only a wealth creation asset, but it's a wealth preservation asset. And in fact, I'm stacking as much cash as I can into Bitcoin, regardless of the price, because of where I think it's going. Now, can you buy more in the bear market? Of course. But when is the bear market going to happen? How far is it going to go down? Will we even see it go down that far? I don't worry about those short-term considerations because I want to accumulate Bitcoin on my personal balance sheet, on my business balance sheet, because I know I don't own enough Bitcoin, and I believe it's going far into the future, and that's why I want to continue to stack it, regardless of my altcoin allocation, which I'll speak about soon. I want you to think about your Bitcoin as your long-term wealth engine. Dollar cost averaging. If you've got a lot of cash on the sidelines, maybe you're moving up from property, your business, your savings, don't dump it in all at once, all right? That is a surefire way to get really stressed, and you're going to be looking at the short-term volatility of the price. The downside of Bitcoin, or the upside, no matter how you look at it, is the volatility. That's what scares a lot of people away. You need to make sure you have a plan to enter the market and be logical, because if you throw it all in today and you get really worried and panicked and it goes down tomorrow, you're going to probably panic and you're going to sell. You need to have conviction, and when you're in the market, I look at Bitcoin as something that I'm not going to sell. I know I'm not too late. I know that Bitcoin's got a long way ahead, and I'm stacking it and I'm building that long-term wealth engine. Primarily, I'm also moving it to a cold wallet. I'm stacking those assets in my cold wallet, right? That's my own assets. I don't have anyone else touching it. I do have money on exchanges, but cold storage for me is the best way to stack that. You can use Ledger, Trezor, whatever you want. That is how you should think about it. If you think about your total portfolio construction, for me, I'm closer to 70-75% right now in Bitcoin because of that long-term wealth creation. That's going to change depending on your risk appetite, your age, how much risk you want to take in altcoins, how much money you have. It's going to differentiate depending on who you are. But I always say for most people, you should have at least 50% in Bitcoin. Now you've got your wealth engine, your stack, your long-term growth engine. Now you want to think about how you can cash flow that, all right? Because the downside of crypto, and people always get this wrong, they think they can retire off crypto. Crypto doesn't generate income. It's not a cash flowing generating asset. Now, yes, arguably you can stake assets, you can stake altcoins, but you're earning a yield on those tokens for securing your assets in the network. It's not cash, it's not income. You're also earning those tokens in that token that you have, which is also volatile. So for example, a lot of people think that by stacking altcoins and earning a yield, you are earning these passive income. But what's actually happened is that they don't realize that the tokenomics of these altcoins are really, really poor. So these tokens actually print their own tokens. The best thing about Bitcoin is its limited supply, but altcoins actually create new tokens into its supply. And to use staking, you're actually only offsetting that inflation by staking it. So you're earning rewards, but the amount of supply that's being created is also increasing. So you're actually not winning at all. It's like earning 3% interest on the cash you have in your bank, but inflation 7%. So you're still down 4%. That is something you need to consider when staking and earning a yield off your altcoins. The real way to generate income income is to utilize crypto, in my opinion, and this is my wealth creation strategy, is to utilize crypto that creates wealth, that gets you rich, but then you need to stack other assets to generate cash flow. Crypto is a vehicle to help you achieve those things. And for me right now, I'm building property, going through the process right now, buying my parents a property, which I'm really excited about. Property is not only a good way to leverage the bank's money, but it is also a good way to generate income and cash flow, and it's stable. Now, yes, property is boring, and I'm not comparing one or the other. I'm actually utilizing it together. The other ways you can do it is also, generating income, generating liquid investment. I know a lot of our clients are getting somewhere between 10 and 50% net cash flow from those investments. You want to get income from your investments outside of crypto, in my opinion. Crypto to grow your wealth and then turn it over. And there's no point just continuing to grind your crypto portfolio higher, looking at these digital paper profits, unless you take profits and build something from it. This is where so many people round trip. Even the most advanced crypto investors overlook this, and they don't actually generate a broader investment strategy, and they get crypto rich and don't sell on round trip. And that's when we talk about making those profits in crypto, thinking you're going to retire, you're going to be rich, but not taking profits and not actually generating cash flow or putting your money to work. So that's where I utilize Bitcoin and altcoins to grow my wealth, and then I push it across into other assets to generate income. And that for me right now is something I'm never going to forget. Going through this process of, my parents have rented their whole entire lives. They've given me so much for me and supported my journey to quit school and pursue my dream of building my business and investing into crypto and going all in 9 years ago when no one else believed in me, to now go through that process of being able to grow my wealth through crypto when I started out with literally nothing, built every dollar I had, and now being able to utilize and build a house for them that they're going to be able to live in, that they're going to be able to call their own, is so exciting. And that's what I talk about. Crypto is a vehicle to help you achieve the things you want to do in life. That's what you need to sell for. So when you think about building your wealth engine and thinking about what you're going to income, what you want to generate from cash flow and income and altcoins and portfolio allocation, you need to have that goal in mind. That is such a big piece that so many people forget. And it's what the most advanced people still forget, is without that goal in mind, you won't have a reason to sell, and you're going to miss the exit because you don't have any logical reason to do anything with it. And that's why most people round trip. And I've seen it over and over and over again. Euphoria and greed takes over. People think they become invincible. The market goes up, but they lose everything because they don't have that portfolio. And that euphoria is something that so many people don't talk about. I've had a performance coach, Travis, for the last 5 years as a CEO and performance coach. He now works within our companies, now a new head of growth. He works with our platinum clients, talking about the investor operating mindset. That fear of loss is so much more painful than the feeling of winning in euphoria. Human psychology showcases us that if you were to lose $100 and win $100, that pain of losing $100 is so much more painful than the upside. This is where people, they don't sell because that fear of not making enough, or that fear of making the wrong decision, gets them in this foothold of not making right decisions. And working with a performance coach over the last 5 years has literally helped me turn my just like all over the shop mindset of like just trying to like shoot from the hip and having no strategy and being scared of making the wrong decisions, to taking profits and making life-changing amounts of money back in the 2021 cycle when I returned 20-30x on some metaverse projects because I actually executed. I actually took profits. And yes, it was scary. It felt horrible. I felt sick. I felt like I was doing the worst thing that I've ever done by literally taking profits. And looking back was the best thing I ever did. But in the moment, it feels so hard to actually do. So I just urge all of you, when you're thinking about building your cash flow and your wealth generation, your machine, you need to have that strategy in place, those goals in place, and get that mindset right. All right. For me, that structure is altcoin gains, build it up with my Bitcoin, move those altcoin gains into stable coins, then into property. And then once I've done that and I've diversified it, stack more Bitcoin. All right. And that generates a positive cash flow. And then I stack and build more Bitcoin. Now, I also need to think about the tops and bottoms because I don't want to go all in at the top, taking profits on my altcoins and buy back in and then have this tax bill. You need to make sure you're actually buying and selling at the right time so you're not going over above or beyond where you actually have. Because the other thing I see people do is they generate all this cash flow, they dollar cost averaging, but then the market pumps and they get FOMO, and now they pile in far more percentage of their cash at the top. So their dollar cost averaging gets wiped out because they were doing all this great work and they're being logical, but then the market pumps and they get really excited, like, fuck, now I need to buy more. And then they pile a bunch of cash into the top and now they're completely obliterated. Or even worse, you actually take profits, you sell down, but then you realize that the market is still going up because guess what? You won't time it perfectly, because it is so hard to do that. And then you take those profits and then you buy back in with the FOMO, and then that's the actual top. So you've double screwed yourself. So make sure you have a plan, stack your stables, be patient, think about the long term, think about cash flow, and get that money working from you. Because looking back, you're going to thank yourself 5 years in the future, looking back, knowing you had a plan, knowing you were patient, and not getting too greedy. That is the key to success. And real income, real financial freedom creates that peace of mind, all right? And that is one of the core principles I teach with our one-on-one clients in our Platinum program, where you actually have confidence knowing what you're investing in has a plan, and you have that right risk to reward that is compounding consistently. You're not just shooting from the hip trying to figure it out on your own. The charts, that is something we teach in our Platinum program. And actually we put together a free training for all of you, giving you an extra level of insight into our Platinum service, the way we think about wealth creation, the way we think about risk to reward. We put together a free training. Click the link below, you can get access to it. It's honestly just condensing everything I talk about here on the channel to give you the best chances of success. It's completely free. Go check it out. And then if you are interested in working with us one-on-one in our coaching programs and our in-person events, I'll share that in the training. But for now, honestly, check it out. It'll be a game changer. It's completely free, and it's going to help you with your strategy for the remainder of the cycle. Now, this is the big thing, right? I just spoke about that goal creation. Your goals might be different to mine. You know, mine right now is about creating cash flow. When I was back in 2021, when I took profits in the metaverse, it was about building my business. In the first cycle 9 years ago, completely round trip because I didn't have any goal. People get obsessed with unrealized profits. I've seen it 1,000 times. Portfolios hit $1 million, $2 million. They take a screenshot, they send it to their friend, they get excited. But instead of taking money off the table, it becomes $400,000. It goes down 60% because they round trip, because they left behind what they thought was them becoming rich and becoming financially free. But actually, it is just numbers on a screen. And crypto is volatile. And while you're obsessing over your paper profits, I'm obsessed over actual wealth creation and using that crypto to do something with my life. So rather than getting caught up in this like paper profit screenshots, look how much money I'm making. What about that house you could have bought? What about that credit card you could have paid off? What about the home you could have renovated? What about the holiday you wanted to take your partner on? That is the thing that makes a real difference. So when you're screenshotting, when you're becoming addicted to the gains, when you think you're going to be invincible and you're making all this wealth and you're going to be, rich forever, that is the time to sense check yourself and realize that you may be actually getting to the point of not being logical and not taking profits, all right? And that is a trigger. That is a big thing to get your goals right. Following the wrong strategy and not following the right goals doesn't just cost you gains and time, it also puts you way further back. And if you're having trouble thinking about your goals, think about the risk to reward you're taking. How do you feel investing right now? Are you flipping meme coins? You've got 40 different altcoins? Are you chasing $10 million in your portfolio when you've only got $1 million in your portfolio right now? Have your expectations built based on where you are right now. And think about your goal setting based off what you want to achieve in life. As I just mentioned, maybe it's cash flow, maybe it's property, maybe it's wealth creation. To get brutally clear on what you want will be the thing that will get you ahead, all right? And there's 3 really main goals in terms of liquid investable assets that I think of that will really change the game. The first one is $1 million. If you get to $1 million in investable liquid assets, you're going to get to financial security. Financial security is when you're not really thinking too much anymore about the debt you have. You're not living in fear. $1 million in investable liquid assets gets you to the point where you're like, you're financial stable. And if you move all of that and you just get 10% a year in an ETF, you're making $100,000 free cash flow every single year. That's like the main goal. The next one is $3 to $6 million. That's where you can really start to upgrade your lifestyle, buy some freedom. You're going on more trips, you're going on more holidays, maybe you're living in a nicer home. This is where you can really start to increase your lifestyle and you're getting those enhancements. And then again, if you're just thinking about general cash flow, $3 to $6 million, now you're really generating really good income if you were to just, put those in an ETF or a liquid fund. Ultimately, the big long-term goal, and this is where I'm headed and I'm starting to head above and beyond this territory, but in the $10 million level, this is when you're starting to build real legacy, real impact and generational wealth. And when you're at this level, you don't need to take as many risks. You're more thinking about how can I grow this, protect it, and making sure I'm reinvesting to continue to stabilize, build amazing things, build cash flow, build income, help your family, help your friends. But it's a really amazing level to be at. Get brutally clear on what you want to do, write it down and execute and action it. That is really, really important. That's going to help you so much when we come to the back end of this bull market over the next few months into actually taking profits. Now, when I've seen this go wrong is you don't know what your goals are and you're completely misaligned, all right? You see some 25-year-old influencer going all in on crazy meme coins and he's making all this money, he's trading, he's making hundreds of %. So now you try and copy them and you return, but what you don't know is actually they're living with their parents in their bedroom and they don't show any of the losses. They're just showing all the wins, and now they sell some trading course and now you're like sitting in front of your computer stressing out of those meme coin trades you're trying to make because some guy on the internet sold you some course and you're trying to change your life and you've just lost a bunch of money. That is so critical. You understand that what you see online, what you see different places is not reality. That's why the company I run, Collective Shift, we're so transparent on what we do. Even myself, I might put a couple of screenshots here of the bank account that I shared in my last video. We are not here to sell you some course. I actually want to help you with your investing, But you need to understand that misalignment of goals and just copying someone else online is not the way to success. You need to become like a foothold in reality, and you need to make sure that what you're doing is actually aligned with what's possible. So to actually talk about a little bit about what's possible, I want to talk about the approach to get to each level that I just spoke about. If you're just trying to get to $1 million, all right, when I started, I had nothing. What did I do? Well, I just accumulated for a long time. I know it sounds boring, but accumulate over a long time. You need automation, low maintenance, simple structure, really grow and DCA into those bigger assets. To understand what's possible in the next 5 years, you need to understand that humans underestimate what's possible in the long term and overestimate what's possible in the short term. I get it. I know it's boring. When I first started, I'm like, I just want to get money quickly. But the reality is compounding interest grows over time. Bitcoin's been compounding at 40% plus for a number of years now. And if you think about compounding interest, that chart will continue to grow. So stack assets, hold good foundational assets, and grow the portfolio. All right. Now, the next level up to really get to that $3 to $6 million level, this is when you start to play those altcoin rotation plays. This is where exit systems really come into importance. And this is where timing cycles is really important. To really grow that portfolio from 1, 2 million to 3 and 6, you really want to make sure you're in good assets to grow during that cycle and time and take profits at the right time. You want to be taking profits on your altcoins, stacking those altcoins profits into stables, and then reinvesting in the next bear market. And if you can have the right tax planning in place where you're not giving all your tax to the taxman straight off the bat, that's going to save you cash flow. So many people don't understand this. They get a massive tax bill because they're not prepared, and then they're spent the money or they don't have it planned in the right tax efficient structure. You need to look at tax efficient structures to reduce the amount of tax you're paying in the short term, kick the can down the road if you can, and then reinvest into the bear market to compound and grow. The $10 million level, this is where you really think about capital preservation. You think about different assets, stable yields. 10 million, this is where primarily, again, Bitcoin for me, the most amount of money you're going to make is really in those large cap assets. When you're in that $1 million level and you're stacking and you're structuring, yes, you're going to have some altcoin plays that are going to grow your portfolio fast. But when you're at that $10 million level, unless you go into these altcoins with big size, they're not going to make a large impact in your portfolio. A big mistake I see is people not aligning what they have in their portfolio with what their goals are. If you have $10 million in your portfolio or you're trying to get there, you're not going to make that by just having a couple of $1,000s in some random altcoins. You need to have size, conviction, and grow your wealth. This is where I made a mistake early when I started 9 years ago, is that I thought by just spreading thin and having a bunch of different altcoins was going to be my recipe to success. That's not reality. The real way to grow wealth, I found in crypto, is you have to go in with size, you have to go in with conviction, and that $10, $20, $30, $50,000 investment will go to $100, $200, $300,000. That's where you make your profits. Not by just throwing $1,000 at a bunch of different stuff and hoping it'll go up. Those days are over. You need to stack good assets, be in the right, sectors. I speak about layer ones really heavily. I believe that is like the Web3 app store. It's where the VC money goes. It's where risk to reward is good. And you need to stop wasting your time trying to just gamble on a bunch of crap and going with size where there is good risk to reward behavior. And that's where you can really get outsized returns to grow your portfolio to these goals I've just mentioned. Now, what if your schedule's packed? You don't have the time to watch all the charts all day. You think you need to be trading crypto to make money. Well, the good news is there is a strategy that still works that gets you wealthy without spending all the time having to do it on your own. And that is the time poor, busy investor playbook. It's something that I've used. If you're capital rich but busy and you're constantly trying to watch the chart, that is not your edge. Clarity, focus, simplicity is your edge. Do you think you can beat quants? Do you think you can beat massive hedge funds by trading crypto? Do you think your crypto bro in your Discord is going to help you get ahead? Ultimately, if you're time poor and busy, this is where you need to really hone it back and simplify things. I know this because when I first started, I literally had 47 different altcoins. I had so much stuff going on 9 years ago, had no idea what I was doing, and literally had 3 different exchanges, had wallets everywhere, had no idea what any of the altcoins did. I was spending 4 or 5 hours trying to manage everything, watching people on Twitter, watching YouTube videos. I was getting stressed. My sophisticated strategy returned good returns on paper, but I round tripped the entire thing, crashed down because I had no simple strategy, no exit strategy. And I wasn't simply going to go and sell 47 different coins. I had no idea what any of them were doing. And that's when the next cycle, I cut my losses. I built a plan. I had a logical plan where I wanted to reduce it to, I went to 2 coins in the bear market. I went to Bitcoin and ETH, and then I rotated it out into short, simple strategies, 1 exchange, 1 cold wallet, 8 coins. And that's where it changed the game. And that's where I made most of my money in the metaverse. Right now I've got 8 coins. I've already taken profits on 2 10x investments this cycle, one on Maple and one on a MeanFly play, because I have conviction. I know what the coin does. I know why it's going to perform well. And I've gone in at size. You cannot go at size with 45 different coins. And the truth is, you're not a degen trader. You don't need to be glued to crypto, Twitter, and YouTube. You're not the one who's going to obsess all the market movements. Those ones that spend the more time in crypto actually create worse returns. This is not a job. The more time you put into crypto does not equal returns. Stick to a plan, create it, and that's what's going to create outsized returns. And this is what over-analyzing media does. It creates FOMO. It creates fear. One of the biggest things in my platinum group, where I'm working with over 200 high net worths that are busy, I feel as though I'm a therapist sometimes. That's the biggest job, is to remind people that don't get caught up into FOMO and what media is saying, because it's so much of it is just noise and nonsense. Complexity kills focus, all right? And emotional decisions create poor decisions. Don't become emotional, stay logical. Success comes from making a few calculated tactical moves, all right? This is where you automate your system, you have high conviction assets. I've been accumulating maple syrup, and I literally been putting this on for 2 or 3 years, and it did a 10x this cycle already, right? And I bought more in April. I didn't chase narratives. I reviewed the asset consistently. I had conviction. It was undervalued, and I took profits. That is my edge. High conviction, long-term investing, and I didn't have to overtrade or think about it. The best assets and the best strategy is the way to make money, but if you don't then have the exit strategy, that is how you lose it all. You can have the best strategy in the world. You can buy all the assets in the world. They can all go up, but if you don't have an exit strategy, that is where it's all going to come down and fail. Too many investors grow their portfolio, they wait to the peak and then crash, and they have nothing to show for it. The sell strategy, and we've talked about this a lot on the channel, I take profits based on sentiment. People think that they need to have altcoin, token prices. They need to have price targets for different altcoins and different things. Newsflash, there is no blueprint to knowing when and how and what prices altcoins will get to. And any YouTuber or Twitter person telling you, oh, this, XRP is going to get to $10, Solana is going to get to $800, no one knows. It is very, very hard to know. I use Bitcoin as a leading indicator, because unless Bitcoin's growing higher, altcoins are not going to follow. My advice to you is track Bitcoin. My price target for this cycle for Bitcoin, based on on-chain analysis, previous cycles, etc., is to about 150 and 180,000. That may change, but that's going to give me a good indicator to when I have, and the team and I here at Collective Shift, we have 4 analysts that are tracking our bull market indicators across sentiment, on-chain analysis, real human psychology, social metrics, and that gives us indicators on when to sell. So my sell strategy, I use a mix of Bitcoin price and sentiment. And my sentiment trackers gives me an indication of when to sell tranches of my altcoins. I sell in thirds, all right? And I did this for my Maple investment, my MemeFi play, and I take a third off at a time. When I take those thirds off, right now I'm stacking and building my property. But when I get to the peak and I build my property stack, then I'm going to bring that back and push it back into Bitcoin. Wealth is what you keep. Wealth is what you actually sell and stack, not what you screenshot and sell to your friends. So make sure you have that plan, sentiment tracking, whatever it is, make sure you have a plan, because without it, panic takes over and euphoria takes over, and that's what round trips, especially those that are busy. So I use a mix of sentiment, dollar cost averaging out, not trying to pick the top, because everyone tries to pick the top. It's easy in hindsight looking back and go, oh yeah, I'm going to sell the top. That is not reality, guys. Reality is taking chips off as the market goes up, reducing your risk, and building assets as the portfolio grows, not trying to time the absolute top. So don't wait for the top. Sell into strength, build real wealth, and make sure you make the most out of this bull market. When others panic, you're buying. When others have got euphoria and greed, you're selling. That is the blueprint to success. That is my $10 million of investing crypto insights. Hopefully, you're going to start to take some of that away and actually implement it to create actual results in your portfolio. If you want to work together, I would recommend checking out the description below, where I have our training, where I go into more detail about all the things about exit strategy, portfolio allocation, risk to reward. That is where you're going to get access to hearing about how the team and I invest here at Collective Shift and how we work with the thousands of clients. It's completely free. And then at the end, I'll share with you how you can actually work with us one-on-one if you are interested. Hopefully you enjoyed this video though. If you liked it, please leave me a subscribe. Leave me a comment on what you want me to create more videos on, and I'll see you on the next video.